Hello, everyone. Welcome to LectoraLive, your inside track into Lectora, and today a little bit into design, graphics, and other things. We've got with us Notermans from the Netherlands, who'll be joining us in just a moment. Stay tuned. And we are back, and I'm joined today by Maud, coming to us from the Netherlands near Rotterdam. How are you today, Maud?
Hi, Rick. I'm fine, thank you. Quite dark here now. It's evening over here in the Netherlands, but it was a nice sunny day today.
Well, you know, it's funny. We live in Southern California, and today it is raining right now, which is rare.
Oh.
So it's a nice day. We're dark today, so we're getting a little bit of rain, which we need. We've been in a drought for I don't know how many years. So this is good. Well, Maud, you are a Lectora user. You're a graphic designer. You've done animations. Yep. You've had a very varied career in the industry. Tell us a little bit about what you've done. And you were telling us a little bit about, you go back in history too. You remember things from the 80s with pre-graphic tools days. And it was fun in those days. Everything was done by hand. What got you started?
I started out as when I was young, when I was really young, at the age of 10, 11, I wanted to become a comic artist. So as a child, I drew a lot and even made complete cartoons and wanted to be a comic artist. Then it was hard to get into that business without knowing how and where to go. But I drew complete comic books and sent that to a magazine here in the Netherlands. And it got published there and got quite some, applause for it. That was my start, and I kept drawing from then. Of course, I went to the Academy of the Arts in Maastricht, and so I got into design. And all by hand, no computers then at my education. But when I finished school, my first job was at a company in Leiden, in the north of Holland. And there I got into my first computer games. The first computer games I worked on were for MSX, Atari, Amiga, all pixel, all sprites, all less possibilities, but making animations out of nothing. And I really, really liked that and went on that way. And at some point, I got into e-learning and e-learning development and design, and so I met Lectora at some point.
That's great. That's great. And actually, you know, it's funny. I'm totally convinced that having a design background like that, when you are when you're a designer, when you've been a graphic artist, I think actually helps a long way when you go become an author, because you don't look at authoring as strictly putting something on a page. You look at how it really fits on a page and what to do with it and how to move it. You know, one of the things we've noticed with authoring is when people don't have a sense of motion, a sense of placement, the pieces become very flat. They lack that movement or the idea of movement. And that's a key thing. And that's why whenever we've met people who have a good graphics background or design background, it brings the courses to life.
Yeah. Well, that's what I like most in e-learning and e-learning projects, bringing things to life, like you say, and especially when that works, and you can get something to life and make people feel the emotion you want to tell. then that works perfectly. I team up a lot with other developers. Most of them not quite related to graphics and pure development or pure programmers or schooled in education. And then you indeed notice that the edge I have is good, because I can point out things they don't see and make the end result look better.
Well, you have a little demo reel you sent us, and I'd like to play that now. It's a short, I think, 1 or 2 minute video. So let's, if you can cue up the video. And just...
It's pure After Effects and animation, but parts of it I'm redoing now in Lectora to make pure with JavaScript.
Okay, so here we go. Do you have it? Okay, here we go. Now the music is playing. We just don't hear it here.
Yeah, anyone can look it up at my Vimeo channel to check it out. Most of these projects are short-time projects that had to be done in no time, because often clients come to me because they know I can get something done properly in a real short time. Also, this animation you see now for some exposition was done in less than a weekend. These animations too are all done in very short time, because clients come often in the end. This is all After Effects work now, motion graphics, but these animations you see now I'm redoing in Lectora, because there was a contest on the Lectora community about storytelling. So I thought, okay, let's redo some of my demo reel work in Lectora with pure JavaScript to show that's possible.
That's great. That's great. How's it working?
Good, because one of my favorite libraries in JavaScript is GZ I have worked for a company, Sheriff Gaming, did a lot of games there. All of those were made in ActionScript 2 and 3, and those games taught me how to work with JavaScript. And since then, I really like JavaScript, and especially GZ animation library, and I use that almost in any project I work on now. And that's one of the big advantages of Lectora, because it's so open. You can add any library you can think of in it and use it.
Now, you know, it's interesting. John Blackman, the CTO of Trivantis, who's a really bright, brilliant guy, he is going to give a one-day scripting seminar at it's a pre-conference seminar for the Lectora Users Conference in Fort Lauderdale in May.
I know.
And are you going to that?
I have enlisted. Yeah, I'm going.
Oh, good. I'll meet you there, because I'll be there too.
Okay.
So that'll be fun to get together and meet. But he's actually doing the pre-conference. It should be really good, because there's a lot of things people don't really know that you can do with Lectora, especially when it comes to scripting and embedding things and the API. Yeah. Lectora has a pretty rich API.
Oh yeah.
Which a lot of people don't even know it exists. So that's going to be it's not cheap, but it's not expensive. At $5.95, spending 8 hours with John Blackman, that's worth, I think, some good money. So I think it'll be fun. Are you going to that one? You probably know it already.
Yes, but I'm going because, I think I can learn something from John. So I'm sure it's interesting. I read it on the Trivantis site, and I thought, okay, that's a very interesting one. And because I'm going to speak on Luck anyway, I thought, add a day and go a day earlier, and it's worthwhile.
That's great. Now, what's your talk going to be about?
My talk is going to be about an innovative approach I made a few years ago. I already told you that I worked for Sheriff Gaming, a gaming company. And one of the things I noticed when I started working there, was they had games that needed to be localized in different languages and in 32 languages. So that was quite a lot of work. And all those assets needed to be updated in those languages, and that was 3 to 4 days work for the designers to change that. So at that point I started thinking, okay, that should be easier, that could be done better and quicker. So I developed there several scripts and a workflow that make it possible to automate certain stuff from Photoshop, and in that case link it to Flash and import it in Flash and immediately have your localized game ready. Well, the moment the company went bankrupt, alas, but well, the ideas and the possibilities with JavaScript were also possible in Lectora. So at some point for CIA, a company I work for now, in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, we had also a lot of assets that needed to be made. So I started redesigning my scripts to work for Lectora. Well, and at some point succeeded at that. And now I have a workflow that can, from Photoshop, can generate an RET with all the assets properly set up, properly in place, and even buttons you design and you develop, and all is generated, and you have a starting RET for your game. This is a screenshot of the plugin of the script that generates the RET you see in the background of all. That's the Photoshop, but the Lectora file will be generated exactly like that. And it's not perfect yet, and it's not ready yet, but it will give and show a lot of people nice options and possibilities to use stuff like this in their own projects. Especially for bigger studios, it can be a great benefit.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and that I'm going to show something about it and talk about it. And of course, all is coupled with JavaScript, Lectora, JavaScript in Photoshop, and in the end, it generates just an XML file, and that's if you rename it to .ret, that's a Lectora file.
Okay, interesting. When you first got into graphics design, you said everything was being done by hand. There was a lot of manual work. I remember those days. We didn't have any tools. And as you got into computers, and it's funny you mentioned the Atari. That was my very first computer before I got an IBM PC. And I was
downgrading.
I was downgrading. Actually, in a lot of ways, I was.
Yeah. Atari and Amiga were great computers then.
Yeah, they had pretty good graphics and everything.
If you one of the programs I designed and animated with Dan, Deluxe Paint, Video Deluxe Paint or something like that. Okay. I don't know the name for sure, but it still exists. It's called TVPaint now. It's owned by a French company, and it is great animation tool for the PC. Yeah. So it's still and it's one of the less known tools, but it's great. And like that, you have a lot of possibilities with those old machines, and that has changed. And nowadays everything can be done with After Effects and 3D tools. Yep. But those old tools are good too.
They were good. Actually, there's a lot of good software. There's several places in the world where there's very good software. The Netherlands, there's some very good programmers and developers there. Australia, also some very good. If I had to name two places in the world they have very good developers, it would be probably the Netherlands and Australia. I've always liked the look and feel of the programs. They run well. One of them, which I believe is out of the Netherlands, is Bluff Titler. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah.
I love Bluff Titler. It's so easy, and you can do some really nice animations with it. And the company's called Outer Space Software. And they do a really nice job. And $50. For $50, you get a really good animation tool that most people can figure out. I almost look at it as almost like a simple Flash type tool.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
If it's simple and it does its work, it's nice, it's good. So why overcomplicate things? Keep it easy, keep it simple.
Yeah, I've learned some After Effects, but I'm not that good at it. I've just never really had time to master it. But rough title is easily. I can do that and go and make some nice animations quickly without having to spend too much time when I do animations. But so I like those kind of tools. It's simple things, and there's some pretty good tools on the iPads and other things that are pretty amazing sometimes, the things you can do with them. So then you went from doing your animations and you went with the Atari. When did you actually start getting into the programming side of it, like JavaScript and all that?
At some point I worked on CDIs, so that was also a while ago. And got in contact with developers and programmers there. And at that moment, my interest in programming started. It really boomed with Flash. At some point, I made animations in Flash. And, no one could program them in the companies I worked at that time. So I jumped on it and started programming it myself. First AS1 even, AS2 and AS3 and OOP kind of programming later. I'm no programmer. I'm for sure no programmer, but I'm just a handy guy, a jack of all trades, and at some point I learned it myself and took courses when necessary and got into it. And now, I do like JavaScript and all the possibilities, especially with Lectora now.
That's nice. You know, it's funny, we had a graphic designer in-house, this is a long time ago, maybe 15, 16 years ago, maybe longer actually, maybe 17 years ago, and there was a version of Flash, and I'm trying to remember if it was MX, maybe it was Flash MX.
Probably, or 4.
Or 4, I think it was MX, but it was really interesting. Maybe it was before that, actually, and that's when they started going more towards ActionScript. And I remember I walked in one morning, and he's sitting there just... I go, what's the matter? He goes, they killed it. I go, what do you mean they killed it? He says,
no, not at that moment.
I don't get it. It must have been a little after that, but he just went, it's not the same. I don't know how to do this. He was a very good animator, but he had no idea how to do ActionScript, and it scared him. And but I'll never forget that. They killed it. It's over.
They killed Flash, but that happened a few years ago.
Well, that's Adobe being stupid, but they just don't get it sometimes. You know, when you have the world's most popular player and you ruin it, that takes skill. That takes a lot of skill. And it's a shame because Flash was a cool environment. And now they have that new Flash Animate, but I haven't played with it, but I know people who have, and they haven't been very impressed. So
no, me neither.
I don't get it. I really don't understand. Flash wasn't that bad. They could have fixed the memory issues, and it would have been fine. And they did. They actually did. Was,
that Apple didn't support it at that moment. They should have get some agreement with them to support it and get it working on iPads and iPhones.
Right.
Well, there they missed. If they had fixed that and got that right, then it would still exist.
Oh, I agree.
A lot of people still use it and program in it too, but it's more in the background now. It's more
games.
I know for Philips uses Flash as prototyping tool, so they develop the interface for their computers, for their TV screens, their televisions, they develop in Flash.
Interesting.
Then it goes to Japan or China, and there they build it rebuild it in chips and stuff, interface, but the prototype is made in Flash.
That's interesting. That makes sense. That actually does make sense. You know, it's funny because Flash actually is running almost every game on every mobile device. And most people don't know that. Angry Birds was written in Flash. All the major games are done in Flash. and Flash can run very well and be very efficient in those platforms. That's so all the time they were losing their status, they were making billions making these games all in Flash. So it's funny. It's an interesting, crazy world we live in sometimes. So,
I don't understand it either, because indeed, all those games are made in Flash, and they run on iPad and iPhone, but by using Air, and that works. Once I was in a MediaMarkt, that's some sort of big warehouse for electronics, and I was looking at iPads, iPhone, computers, and in front of me a lady was asking some salesman there for, what should I get? Should I get this, or should I get that, an iPad or an Android tablet? And at that moment, the salesman took off with a long story that Flash wouldn't work on iPad, that she couldn't develop things with Flash on iPad. And that as is true, but long story short, I got in a discussion with the salesman there to tell him, get his facts straight, because he was telling things that weren't true.
But remember, he was a salesman. He said $600 for an iPad, $150 for the Android. The iPad's a much better machine.
It was clear that was the idea behind it.
You know, it's funny. I have an iPad. I have several iPads, but I have the iPad Air 2. I have the iPad Air 1, the Air 2. And I bought the iPad Pro, the 13-inch large one. I returned it the next day. It had beautiful sound, and there was nothing else that interested me about it. The interface was the same. It was small. It was hard to read. And I was going, this doesn't seem worth the $1,000 I just spent on it. It was heavy. People say it's not that heavy. It isn't, but if you hold it for more than an hour, it's heavy. You feel it. You need something to really hold it with. I wasn't impressed. And yet, I have a Kindle Fire HD, which is, I think, a 10-inch, 10.9-inch. And I actually love that little device. I almost use my Fire more than my iPad nowadays. It's interesting. And so I think, and Apple sales for the iPads have really gone down. They're flat. They're flat. And it's their own fault. They introduced too many too soon. Yeah. People don't want to spend $500, $600, $700, $800 every time in every year when something comes out, no matter how crazy they are about their Macs. It's a lot of money.
If it works, then it works, and you don't need a new one just for Apple. Yeah,
that's true. Now, when you got into Lectora, you were saying something in the beginning. At first, you didn't like it, which is understandable, because most people with a graphic and design bent, especially,
I have to do
getting used to it.
Enlighten you a bit about that, because when I started working at CAE, we used and still use extend, so that's a really old version. I now use Lectora 16 as when I'm working at home.
It's very different.
At the office at CAE, we use extend, and extend is so limited that's unbelievable, and still is. But I managed, by the way, by diving into the code and exploring the JavaScripts from Triventis, and I now can do almost anything I can do with L16, also with extend.
Oh, interesting. That's good. Yeah, that's one thing that most people, again, don't realize. Lectora is actually pretty extensible. You could do quite a bit with it if you understand how it ties into things, and that's the beauty of it. But you're right, Lectora 16 is quite an improvement, even over 12. It runs very nicely, and it's pretty clean, and it's only getting better. So I'm looking forward to seeing new things that come out with it. If you had to say one thing that you find you really like about Lectora, what would it be?
The responsive design. I do like the way it works with multi-devices, and you can design once, shuffle elements, and publish it to any device. And well, of course, the extendability.
Yes.
That's so open that you can edit the XML and update stuff, write code that works perfectly together with Lectora. I like it. At first I didn't like it, but when I grew into it and discovered the underlying thoughts and the setup of the tool itself, well, I do like it. I even do like version X10 now.
Yeah, I've always liked it. It's always been a good tool. I've been working with it for about 10 years, and
As a designer, it was terrible. You couldn't even, when you, for example, wanted to put an element of in your page partly off screen, you had to do it in Photoshop. You couldn't do it in Lectora Extend then. Well, now that's easy and possible in version 16, but in Extend you couldn't do it. You had to cut it or use JavaScript to put it partially outside of your view.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually really nice the way they did that right now. And I like the fact that you finally have open borders. You can move anything out and in, just like if you will, like PowerPoint or any other tool. So they've done a really good job with that, and it makes it just easier. And you can get more creative now because of that too, which is fun, without having to go in some of the circles that we used to. If you
one of the things that I still don't like in Lectora, especially I work with Storyline too.
Yes.
And for example, Storyline, it's flashed, so it's of course it's easy to do it, but the transitions between pages in Storyline are better than in Lectora.
Well, now it's funny you bring that up, John. If you're watching this, I know I hassle you all the time about transitions, so I'm not the only one. But we love you, John. And we know you're doing a great job. But no, I've hassled John a lot about transitions and fades and all this, and he has put in the fades finally, and those are great. Yeah, but I love. But we need a page transition.
Not good enough yet. They can be better.
Page transitions that are smooth would make a big difference. It just gives it that more cinematic look when you want something to look professional and nice. So I'm not alone, John. There's one more with me. There's one more.
Oh, we hassle him when we're in Fort Lauderdale.
We will. Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. No, John's great, and I know my wife's taking his class when we go because she loves the scripting part of it, and I'm going to take advantage and just take a day off. So that's actually, I'm looking forward to that. But no, it should be a lot of fun, and so again, you're going to be talking about. The story, what is it, storytelling and design?
No. The combination between Photoshop, JavaScript, and
that whole process.
Lectora.
Yep, the process you create. That would be really good. That's for the advanced users. That'll be great to figure out ways to make it more efficient.
Yeah, and that's one mistake you make. It's not for the advanced users because, I'm no programmer either. I'm a designer from art, and what I can do, anyone that has a bit of perseverance and want to fix it can do it too. Okay, it's all on the internet. You can all find it.
Sure. Okay, not for the advanced users, for the persevering users. That's important.
Yeah.
But no, that'll be good. It'll actually be a very good talk because those are things people don't easily figure out. And part of it is you have to have that interest to try to figure it out. But once somebody's done it, then it becomes easy for you to do it. So that'll be really good. Well, Maud, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show. And if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
My email address or LinkedIn work best, I guess.
Okay, and we'll put that.
Or visit me in Holland.
Okay, that'd be a good one too.
Or at Fort Lauderdale, the Luck meeting. I'll be there.
Yeah, so he will be there. He is a freelancer. So you are freelancing, I believe, right?
No. I freelance. I work for CAE. CAE is the company, Canadian company in aviation and electronics. but what they I can't show anything from them because it's all military and confidential, so I can't show anything from that. And besides, in my free time and my spare time, I freelance.
Great. So if you ever need any spare time freelancers who can do animations, graphics, and Lectora, there he is, right there. So great. We really appreciate you coming on today. I look forward to meeting you in person at the show, and then we'll put in the show notes your LinkedIn connection so people can connect up to you.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Rick.
All right,
it was nice talking to you.
Oh, same here.
I see you in Fort Lauderdale.
That's good. We will see you soon. And again, we will have all of this information in your show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give us your feedback, and definitely get in touch with Mont and other people we have on the show. We appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ciao.